Observation would help you. Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now, Leanne.
Right,
Observation
you can
will
go.
help you as a teacher to identify the child that have problems in class, and then you will find a way to help the child, something like that, and it also help you to identify in which area the child needs help. I don't know if I'm right.
Yes, you're on the right track.
Is that? Oh. Yes.
Yes, you're on the right track.
Okay. Okay. Must I say more?
No, that is enough. Thank you for answering the question.
Mm.
All right, Pedro, then we can just go on to the next slide. Okay, so our learning outcomes will be, by the end of this lesson, you'll understand why observation is essential in ECD centers, identifying and applying different observation methods, recording objectively, unbiased, and then also access a child's development using evidence collected, write a clear professional report to communicate findings, and then also know when and how to refer to a child that needs additional support. And then just the next one, please. Just stop me if the signal is bad. I see I am struggling with Wi-Fi connection.
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Definition of observing, assessment, and reporting. So we are looking at three of our support structure that it usually walks hand in hand with each other. So I'm also just going to give a small quick scenario after this so you can just see how to adapt and how to observe in just a small quick lesson. Okay, so observation is a purposeful, systematic watching and listening to understand a child's development progress. Assessment, the progress of evaluating a child's development by gathering information throughout the observation. Reporting to communicate findings to parents, supervisors, professionals throughout written reports and meetings. So today in free play, Lebu and Laura were playing. Laura asked Lebu, please pass me the big red block. Lebu looked at Laura, answering, red block, big block. So we are observing Lebu. Lebu is 5 years old. In this case, we can see that Laura is using full sentences, but Lebu responds using short speech rather than full sentences. By using all three, observation, assessment, and reporting, I gathered information about Lebu I never knew. Lebu struggles with language but doesn't struggle with any interactions with other friends. The assessment would then be the language development in Lebu. Lebu shows a limited vocab, but she can label objects by size and color. Lebu may benefit from language scaffold learning during free play. And then the report that I made is I made recommendation to the parents to assist at home, and I will also send extra work for them to assist with. So Please always remember that the notes that you make is confidential and is not supposed to be shared with other parents. And then you don't always need to sit with a one-on-one session to observe a child. The best way to observe a child is by letting that child be in his or her comfort zone, by leaving that child to be free and play and talk to a friend. That's when you would really know if there is something that is wrong with the child. It depends on whether you are looking at language development, maybe numeracy, or even social development. So it all depends on what you are looking at as well. Then we can just go to the next slide, please. Principles of a good observation. Effective observation follows core principles. Objectively describes only what you see and hear, no assumptions. Assumptions is always a bad thing. Accuracy is recording facts, not interpretation. Confidentiality, to protect a child's identity and privacy at all times. Consistency is to absorb that child on a daily basis and use similar methods across time. Cultural sensitivity, understand behavior within the child's culture and family context. And then professionalism is remaining ethical, respectful, and anti-bias. So remember, here, bias is our biggest enemy. So to have a good observation, we should not look at how we are feeling. So when I say bias, it's basically to say, oh, shame, I like Lebu, so let's give Lebu extra points for trying for language, although she is struggling. So that's what I mean with bias is the enemy of a good observation. And then we can just go to the next one. Overview of observational types. ECD practitioners use various observational methods depending on the situation. The main methods include narrative or running reports, time sampling, event sampling, checklists, rating scales. Each method has strengths and limits. Practitioners must choose the appropriate method based on the purpose of the observation and the behavior or skill being monitored. So that's why I said it depends on what you are looking at. If it's language or numeracy, your life skills section, or even social development as well. So it's all these different aspects as well with the observation. It's not only based on just looking at one thing. You can just go to the next one, please. Okay, narrative observation is your running reports. A narrative observation is a detailed, continuous account of everything a child does over a set period. Strength, rich detail, show how behavior, flaws, limitations, time consuming, require strength, strong concentration. For example, at 9:10, Sipo walked to the block area. He picked up 3 blocks, stacked them slowly. When the tower falls, he frowned, sat back down, and he tried again. So this just shows us that we need to keep on observing Sipu, because now sometimes he will get frustrated. It depends on the day that he's got. So maybe he didn't sleep well, so he woke up, he's tired. Then the same thing will frustrate him. He will get angry. He will maybe push another friend. So we also need to look at that. Okay, so I don't know if anyone's got questions for me.
Let's maybe get more examples. Sharon, are you with us? Sharon? All right. Tendai Mlambo? Tendai Mlambo, are you with us?
Good evening.
Good evening, Tendai. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. Can you give us another example of a narrative observation or running record?
If I understand correctly, like observing a child that is getting frustrated or that has problems in like different way of growing. Is
Yeah,
that the observation?
so narrative observation would be when you write down an observation in a narrative form. So you'll see the example there says, at 9:10, Sipo walks to the block area. He picks up 3 blocks and stacks them. He falls, he frowns, he sits back and he tries again. So narrative means you write it out like a story, so to speak. So can you give me another example? And you can make up any type of facts that you want to of a narrative observation.
Okay, so at 9, Michelle and Hava were playing, and then Michelle wanted the same ball, wanted to play with the ball that Ahava was playing with, and she didn't communicate very well. She then grabbed the ball from Ahava, and Ahava was angry, and they both were fighting over a ball. Yeah.
Perfect. That's actually an excellent example because what you did there is in this narrative observation that you made, you provided the context, playing with the ball, where they were, etc. And you also showed the behaviors between the children. So how the child behaved and how the child behaved with another child. So that is an excellent example. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well,
Leanne, we can continue with the next one.
Thank you. You can just go to the next slide for me. Okay, time sampling. Time sampling observes a child or a group at a specific time. Usually, I say that time sampling needs to happen at fixed intervals. That means every 15 minutes or every 25 minutes, you just check, you observe, you track. This is very good to track behavior, attention span, and then also helps with group activity engagements. So this also helps them to communicate in a group, settle as a group, and also develop then the social skills. So this is not just for you to gather samples or to gather information about the child or that specific group, but it also has a benefit towards the children. So, for example, we can just see here that it says the time 9 o'clock sitting, drawing, 9:05 talking to peers, 9:10. They don't really do something at 9:10, but then this is efficient and it's structured. So you can just go to the next slide, please. And then this is event sampling. This is one of my favorites. I like this. Event sampling is focused on a specific behavior, for example, biting, throwing tantrums, even in some cases might be bullying. So whenever they occur, it's useful to understand what is the trigger or the behavioral trigger, identify the patterns, or even help you to find a strategy to help that child. So this is ideal for you to keep record for the events that's happening in the class, especially when you don't know who's always biting or who's always throwing tantrums. And then I've just got a quick question here. The example is Tandy push another child when that child tried to take the toy. So the teacher comes in, she calmly explained to them, they mustn't fight about a toy, we share. So this is not really a question with a right or wrong answer, but it's just for me to understand that you understand what I'm explaining, is what might be the trigger for Tandi to push another child over the toy.
Thank you so much. That's a good question. Let's see. Mbongiwe Zulu, are you with us? Mbongiwe Zulu. All right. Timberlikle. Oh, wait. Mbongiwe, you unmuted yourself.
Yeah,
Hi, Mbongiwe. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good. All right. I'm going to ask Leanne to repeat the question and then you can answer for us.
So the statement is Tandi pushed a child when he takes her toy. So the question is, what might be the trigger for Tandi?
Tandy maybe didn't sleep well last night, is tired. Or Tandy have got behavioral issues. That's my answer.
All right.
And that's a very good answer. I actually like that answer. Now I've got another question for you on the behavioral issues. How would you know Tandi's got behavioral issues? Let's say, for example, did you keep record of it? And then would you use event sampling to keep record to see if Tandi's got behavioral issues?
I keep the record of what Tandy does, right?
Yes, yes.
And I hear every time when the other children coming to complain about Tandy. I think, yes, that's what I have.
Okay, that's actually quite an excellent answer. I like that.
Perfect. Can we just ask one more question? This one's a bit of a tricky one. Mbongiwe, thank you so much. You won't have to answer this one. I don't want to put you to answer 3 questions in a row. That's fine. Thank you so much. Let me ask the next one on my list under Tebelekle. I've got Dion Beesterboer. If I pronounce that correctly, Dion. Right, Dion isn't with us. Shanae. Shanae, are you with us? I see you've unmuted yourself, but I can't hear you, Shanae. Shanae, unfortunately, I can't hear you. Just check maybe your settings and then I can come back to you later because I see you unmuted, but I can't hear you. Let's move on to the next one. Alison Nordia.
Sorry, I just wanted
Oh,
to say that Chenai's piece is having issues, but he will answer when she's fixed it.
oh, okay. No, that's fine. Tendai, well, I've got you now then. Could you give me an example? Oh, sorry. Tell me the difference between time sampling and event sampling.
Sorry, you want the difference between what?
Between event sampling and time sampling.
Mm, I'm not sure. I don't want to lie.
All right. So remember we just did time sampling. Do you remember what that was?
Oh, sorry. I didn't listen on that one. I had to fix the baby quickly. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. Do you recall event sampling?
Okay, event sampling, focusing on specific behaviors like biting, tantrums, whenever they're okay. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, no, it's fine. I'll ask that question again later because I see time. So, Leanne, you can continue.
All right, thank you, Petra. We can just go to the next slide. A checklist, specific development milestones or behavioral to mark as present, emerge, or not yet. It's useful for a quick screening or milestone tracking. For example, age 3 to 5 holds a crayon with a tripod grip or grasp. Speak in full sentences, take turns with peers, and follow a 2-step instructions. So milestones tracking is especially important in an early childhood development center because you need to understand if that child is on the right track with his milestones. I will share a short PDF on milestones as well after the session if anyone wants to read into it. So I just want anyone, just to name any other milestone indicators. It doesn't need to be a specific age or specific group. It can just be anyone that they can think of.
All right, no one is going to answer if you don't call them out. So let me see here. We've got our next person. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this properly. Ferris Chamawinya. Ferris Chamawinya, are you with us? All right, Alison Odia.
Good evening.
Hi, Alison. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, and yourself.
Good, thank you. Did you have you gotten the question?
Could you just repeat it for me?
Sure, Leanne.
So the question is, can you name any other milestone indicators? It doesn't need to be any specific age or any specific group. It can just be any milestones that you can think of.
Okay, one of the milestones that for me that stands out from what I can see on a day-to-day basis is kids being able to tie the shoe
Okay.
4 and 5. They should be able to tie the shoelaces. So that's something I would look into.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Leanne?
Okay, we can just go to the next slide, Pedro. Rating scales. Rating scales measure how often or how well a child performs or even behaves. This doesn't really need to be just behavioral, but you can also rate any other development in this specific scale rating, if I can put it that way. So it is, instead of using words, you can use numbers. For example, saying Tandi doesn't share. So instead of putting Tandi doesn't share, you can just say sharing, Tandi really, or sometimes or often. So you can just put a 3 for saying often. Then you can track it over a couple of months to see if it's improving or if it's still the same. So this actually helps to keep track, especially when you've got a big class of, let's say, 28 or 29 kids. You can track it that way. Then you know that you're using the numbers instead of having pages and pages of words. So it is good to use for social behavior, emotional regulation, communication skills, and useful for tracking changes over time. It's a great way to measure the degree on behavior. It can also help us to see on a more consistent level if that child improves. You can just go to the next one, please. Choosing the right observation method. Key factors when selecting observation methods. It would be the purpose, what you are trying to understand, age of the child. Young children benefit from narrative or event sampling. Remember, event sampling is a technique where we observe and keep records of each child in a specific time. So it can be the behavior or the event that occurs. So that's when we use the event sampling. The behavioral type, predictive behavior suits time sampling, unpredictive behavior suits event sampling. So unpredictive behavior, we said, is the tantrums, the biting, and the bullying. And then time available narrative requires more focus. So that would be a checklist is the quickest way then to do it if it's time available. Choosing wisely ensure the correct outcome. If you want to track tantrums, which method would you use? So that's just the question that I've got. So if you track tantrums, which method would be the best for you?
All right, let's start again right on the top of my list. Mbongiwe Zulu.
Yes.
Hello, did you get the question?
Hello.
Hi, Mbongiwe.
No,
All right, Leanne
you
will
can repeat
repeat
the
it for you.
question.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Leanne, you can repeat the question?
Sorry, Petra. If you want to track tantrums, which method would work best? Out of the methods on the screen, so which one would work best if you want to track a tantrum?
I can change. I can. Hi. Is it is it that one for behavior type? Am I on the right track? The
All right,
behavior type.
let me just jump in here quickly. So let me just remind you again of the different types of observation methods, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have the narrative one, which is when you write it like a story, and that's usually for children when they're still very, very young. Okay, so you'll say,
Yes.
this morning, Sibo came to the classroom, he ate a banana, he greeted his friends, he was happy, he waved at me. That is a narrative, okay? And then we have the second one, which is the time method. And that is a very structured method where we say 10 past 9, Sipo entered into the classroom. 20 past 9, Sipo greeted a friend. 9:30, Sipo started with his work. And that's how it goes. Okay. And then we have the event method. Event method is, for example, when a child presents a behavioral problem that you are investigating. So if the child, for example, bites another child on the playground, you would note that as an event. And then you would keep it with you. And then if the event happens again, you would note it again. So that is the event one. All right. And then we have the milestones one. So every time a child fulfills a milestone, for example, you noticed one day that he or she tied her shoelaces, you would note that down as a record and you would say, today Sipo tied his shoelaces and that was it. Okay. So that is a milestone one. And then we also have the checklist one, which I've now also forgotten. Then we have the rating scales. So rating scales, the one for social behavior. So you ask specific type of questions. For example, how often does Mary share her toys with her friends? And then you would rate her on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being she never shares them, 5 being she always shares them. Okay. And then we have the checklist, which is the one for milestones, which I've actually already covered. So my question then to you is, out of all of those ones, if you are tracking a child's behavior where a child maybe has tantrums or gets angry, for example, which method would you use?
I'll use that one to give them the like the marks, like giving them like today, Sam did this, then I'm giving him maybe a 3 for improving. Then next week I track it again. Next week Sam managed to do this fully, then I give them maybe a higher mark also.
All right,
That's what I use.
All right.
to
Thank you so much.
so that I can see